Nadezhda Teffi, a wise man. He is skinny and tall, his head is narrow and bald, and there is a wise expression on his face. He talks only about practical topics, with no little jokes or anecdotes, no little smiles. If he does grin, then his grin is always ironic, the corners of his mouth curling down. He occupies a modest position in the emigration, selling perfume and herring door to door. The perfumes smell like herring, and the herring like perfume. He is a bad businessman. He convinces unconvincingly. You say the perfume stinks? Well, after all, it's cheap. You would fork out 60 francs for the same perfume in a store, but it only cost 9 from me. Maybe it smells bad now, but you will get used to it. Men can get used to anything. What? The herring smells like cologne? Don't worry, you won't harm the taste. It's not important. Look, they say the Germans eat a cheese that smells like a dead body. No problem. They are not bothered by it. Doesn't it make them sick? I don't know. No one ever complained about it, and no one ever died of nausea. At least no one complained that he died. His complexion is gray, his brows red. They are red and they quiver. He loves to talk about his life, perceiving it as a model of sensible and proper behavior. Talking about it, he preaches, but at the same time he displays mistrust at quick-wittedness and receptiveness. Our last name is Vurugin, not Vorugin, as many people take the liberty of joking, but Vurugin from an unknown root. We lived in Taganrog, and what style we lived in! No Frenchman could have such a life, not even in his wildest dreams. 6 horses, 2 cows, a kitchen garden, a landed estate. Father kept a shop. What kind of shop? Well, he had everything. You want a brick? You get a brick. You want Lenten butter? Here's butter, if you please. You want a sheepskin coat? You get a coat. He even had ready-made clothes. And what clothes? Not like they have here. You wear them a year and they turn shiny. We had materials you couldn't even dream of here. Sturdy fabrics with a pile, and the cut was smart, wide. Any artist would wear our clothes. He wouldn't be making a mistake. Our clothes were fashionable. Here's the fashion a bit weak, I must say. Last summer, the shops here displayed brown leather boots in all the stores. Ouch! The latest fashion. Well, I look and I just shake my head. I wore boots like the 20 years ago in Taganrog. That's when it was 20 years ago, and only now has this style reached them here. Who says that the French are so fashionable? Huh! And the women here, how they dress. Did our women ever wear such pancakes on their heads? They have been downright embarrassed to go out in public with pancakes like that on. Our women dressed fashionably, chicly, but here they don't have an inkling of style. It's boring here, terribly boring. Nothing but metro and movies. Did we ever rush around like that in Taganrog? Several 100,000 people pass through the Paris metro every day, and you're going to assure me that all of them are traveling on business? Well, go ahead and lie, but remember there are limits to my gullibility. 300,000 people a day and all on business? Just where are all these businesses of theirs? What business do they engage in? In trade? In trade, I beg your pardon, there is a depression going on. In jobs, too, I beg your pardon, there is a depression. So, where may I ask in the business to which 300,000 people rush day and night on the metro, goggling their eyes? I am amazed. I take a respectful attitude towards these statistics, but I don't believe it. Of course, living in a foreign country is difficult, and there is a lot you don't understand, especially if you're alone. During the day you work, but in the evenings you just go crazy. Sometimes in the evening you go over to the washstand, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, Vorugin, Vorugin, is it you who is a hero and a knight in shining armor? Is it you who is Vorugin and sun ink, who symbolizes those 6 horses and those 2 cows? Your life is solitary and you're all dried up like a flower without a root. And now I must tell you that one day I decided to fall in love. As they say, the decision was signed, sealed, and delivered. On the landing of our hotel, Trésor, lived a young lady, very nice, and between you and me, quite pretty. A widow. She had a 5-year-old son, a great kid. The little boy was really great. The lady was not bad off. She earned a little bit by sewing, so she didn't complain much. The others, our refugees, you invite one to tea, and the whole time, like some stingy bookkeeper, she keeps on counting and recounting to you. Ouch! They didn't pay me 50 there, and here they didn't pay up 60, and the room cost 200 a month, and the metro 3 francs a day. They add and subtract. It makes you sick. When you're with a lady, it's important that she says something nice about you, not about her accounts. Well, this lady was something special. She was always humming, but at the same time, she wasn't frivolous. On the contrary, she had spiritual needs and approach to life. Once she noticed on my overcoat a button hanging by a thread, and without saying a word, she brought a needle and sewed it on. Well, the farther it went, the more involved I became. I decided to fall in love. And her little boy was great. I like to deal with everything seriously, especially something like this. You have to be logical. I didn't have trifles in mind, but lawful marriage. And by the way, I asked her whether she had her own teeth. Even though she was young, all kinds of things might have happened, There was a certain teacher in Taganrog. She was also young, but it turned out she had a glass eye. So I took a good look at my lady, and I weighed everything completely. I decided I could marry her. But then a certain unexpected circumstance opened my eyes. It showed me that I, as a decent and conscientious, even a noble man, could never marry her. It seems so insignificant now, but it set my whole life back a notch. Here's how it was. One evening, we were sitting very cozily at her place, reminiscing about what kinds of soups there were in Russia. We had counted 14, but we'd forgotten pea soup. The situation became quite funny. That is, she laughed. I don't like to laugh. I would sooner be plagued with a defective memory. Anyway, we were sitting and reminiscing about our past power. The little boy was there too. "Give me a caramel, Maman," he said. She answered, "No more, you've already eaten 3. But he kept pestering her, "Gimme, gimme, gimme." So I said in a serious tone, even though I was joking, "Come over here, I'm going to spank you." Then my lady went and said the fatal words, "Are you kidding? You're such a softy, you couldn't spank him." The floor dropped out from under my feet. To take upon myself the upbringing in an infant at just the age when they have to be whipped from time to time was absolutely impossible in light of my character. I couldn't take that upon myself. Could I ever really whip him? No, I couldn't. I can't fight. And what then? Ruin a child, the son of your favorite woman. "Forgive me, Anna Pavlovna," I said. "Forgive me, but our marriage is a utopia on which we will all perish, because I cannot be a real father and disciplinarian to your son. What you say is only too true. Frankly, I couldn't ever whip him, not even once." I spoke with great reserve. Not a single fiber of my face twitched. Well, maybe my voice was slightly muffled, but I can swear to the fibers. She, of course, "Oh, love and all that. You won't have to whip the child. He's so good," she kept saying. "He is good now," I said. "He's good, but he will be bad. I beg you not to insist. Be strong. Remember that I can't spank. It's not right to toy with the future of your son." Well, she, being a woman, began to cry, of course, calling me a fool. Nevertheless, the affair dissolved, and I don't regret it. I acted nobly. For the sake of my own blind passion, I didn't sacrifice the useful organism of a child. I took myself completely in hand. I gave her a day to calm down, then another. Then I went to explain myself precisely. Of course the woman couldn't comprehend it. She persisted, you fool, completely unfounded. So that's how the affair ended. And I can say I'm proud of my behavior. I forgot about it rather quickly, because in general I consider the harboring of memories unnecessary. What good are they? You cannot pawn them or anything. Well, having thought the situation over, I was still determined to get married. Only not too Russian. No way. You have to be logical about this. Where are we living? I ask you frankly. Where? In France. And since we live in France, it's necessary to marry a French woman. So I began to look for one. I have a certain French friend here, Monsieur Emilion. He is not pure French, but he has lived here a long time, and he knows all the customs. Well, this Monseigneur introduced me to a certain young lady. She works at the post office. Sweet. I just looked at her, and oh, her figure is really great. Tall and thin, and her dress fits her like it's poured on. Oh, I think I'm gonna be in hot water. No, I told my friend, this one doesn't suit me. I like her. I haven't a thing against her. Well, you have to be logical. Such a thin, well-built creature will always be able to buy inexpensive dresses, maybe for 75 francs. Well, but once she buys a dress, there will be no keeping her home any more. She will have to go out dancing. And what's the good in that? Is that what I'm marrying for, that my wife will go out dancing? No, I said. Find me a model of a different series, more thickest. And you can imagine, she was quickly found. Not a large model, really, but a stocky one, with enough fat on her bones so you don't have to buy any, as they say. But in general, she wasn't bad-looking, and she worked. Now, don't think that she's some kind of an ox. No, she has little curls and waves and everything that the thin ones have. Only, of course, you can't find ready-made dresses for her. Having thought it all over, I revealed to her what was to be done under the circumstances, and we were off to the mayor. Well, after about a month, she asked me for a new dress. She asked for a new dress, and I very willingly said, "Of course, will you buy a ready-made one?" She blushed slightly and answered offhandedly, "I don't like ready-made dresses. They don't fit me well. I would rather you bought me some blue material and took it to a seamstress." So I very readily kissed her and went off to buy some material. And, as if by mistake, I bought the most ill-suited color, something like dun, like you find in horses. She was a little confused, but she thanked me anyway. She didn't have any choice. It was the first gift. It's too easy to scare future gifts away. She too understands the importance of strategy. Well, I felt very happy about everything and recommended a Russian seamstress to her. I've known this seamstress for a long time. She fleeces worse than a French woman, and sews so badly that you just spit and fume. She sewed one client's collar to his sleeve, and still she argued. So this came Couturier sewed a dress for my lady. Well, it was so funny that you wouldn't have to go to the theater to laugh. She was a dun-colored heifer, nothing more. She had already tried to cry, the poor thing, and to alter it and to dye it. Nothing helped. The dress hangs just like that one on a nail even now. And my wife sits at home. She's French. She understands that you cannot have a dress made every month. So we live a quiet family life. I am very content. And why? Because I'm logical. I even told her to cook stuffed cabbage rolls. Happiness is not just placed into your hands. You have to know how to lay your hands on it. And even though everyone would like to, not everyone can. You have to be logical.